in the Environmental Studies program, also in the English department at St. Mary's, and I have had the pleasure of being the academic advisor for Sarah Jannings' internship this summer with Fernwood. And so she's put together an awesome presentation about that internship. So delighted that you're all here to see that. This has been a great opportunity for Sarah and for us at St. Mary's to have more connection with Fernwood and the great work that they do. It's also a good opportunity for students to see what kind of possibilities there are for internships. It's a great opportunity, lots of neat things. So if you're thinking, students, about what you might do next summer, you might think about Fernwood or some similar organizations as great places to do an environmentally related internship. So without further ado, also mentioned Sarah is an environmental studies major with a concentration in spirituality, justice, and ethics, also a communications major, and a minor in public relations
and advertising. It's a long list.
All right, so thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Professor Cobb. On behalf of the St. Mary's College Environmental Studies Department, I would just like to welcome you tonight to my internship experience showcase. Thank you so much for joining me for this 15 to 20 minute presentation. I have so much to share, and I'm just so excited to be able to express the gratitude, and I'm so thankful for the experience that I had at Fernwood Botanical Gardens this last summer, and that I can share this information with you today. So as Professor Cobb already mentioned, I am a junior here at St. Mary's College. I do have a lot on my plate with majors and minors, and boy will my friends tell you that did I go back and forth and change many different times because I have so many different interests. But I'm just so thankful that I finally narrowed down my list, and my experience at Fernwood Botanical Gardens truly helped me do that. As of right now, my plans after college are I'm considering receiving an MBA in marketing, possibly at the University of Notre Dame, or going straight to working for an advertising agency following my graduation in May of 2025. So first off, my internship at Fernwood Botanical Gardens lasted for the duration of May, at the very end of May after Memorial Day, to the end of August, and I did not want to leave. I stayed there until the end of August, almost all the way back until I moved back in here to college on a Saturday. I just had an incredible experience, and I had a very diverse experience. I had the opportunity to work with many different departments and directors at Fernwood. During the week, I would primarily work with the Director of Education, the Director of Marketing and Community Engagement, and the horticulture team, specifically the Director of Horticulture and the horticulturalists. Also on the weekends, I spent time working at the front desk of the Visitor Services Center, and I would occasionally help the events and rental manager with weddings and any concerts that we had, which was so much fun. So first, before I go any further, I wanted to explain exactly what a botanical garden is, because I grew up familiar with Fernwood, but I wasn't exactly sure about all that a botanical garden entails until I started working there. So I started out with a little bit of research, just with a basic guide from the Botanic Gardens Conservation International, with a simple explanation that botanical gardens are institutions that are responsible for collecting various collections of living plants and documenting that. And they do that through education, promotion, and conservation, and ultimately just documenting the common and botanical names of the variety of different collections and cultivated public gardens that they have. Fernwood in particular is a 105-acre botanical garden, nature preserve, and arboretum. They have many different cultivated public gardens and other natural collections, specifically their tallgrass prairie, their arboretum, South Vista, boxwood garden, and so many more that are to explore and are open to the public. So ultimately, my experience as a life in the day of the life as an intern at Fernwood Botanical Gardens consisted of many different things. So I worked directly with the Director of Education, Michelle, who is here tonight, and I got to start my internship on my first day by leading a field trip, which was the last field trip of the summer at Fernwood, which was awesome. So I jumped right into it, working with younger children who came out to explore the gardens, and I ultimately also had the chance to volunteer and work at the front desk of the Sims Education Center, which I'll note on a little bit later in this presentation. And then I also had the opportunity to conduct my own research project, which was entitled Botanical Gardens, a Unique Place for Plant and Wildlife Diversity, Conservation, Education, and Community Involvement. So that encompassed a lot of different aspects, all which I have highlighted shortly here in this presentation for you today as well. I also had the opportunity to work with the Director of Marketing and Community Engagement, Elaine, who is here tonight. And I had the incredible opportunity to help manage Fernwood's social media accounts, which I surely enjoyed so much. I'm sure a lot of my friends will tell you that I was constantly sharing my posts and my videos, and I posted multiple times a week. I just pretty much wanted to showcase the day and the life as a summer intern at Fernwood to promote their internship program and ultimately the experiences and knowledge and people that I got to meet while I worked at Fernwood. Through this opportunity, I also became very familiar with Fernwood's style guides, such as their imagery, typography, particular colors that I have also implemented into the design of my presentation today. Specifically, I also spent a lot of time during the week with the Director of Horticulture and Horticulturalist at Fernwood. I got out there in the gardens and I did not dress like this, I'll tell you that right now. I looked like unrecognizable. I would get really dirty, get my hands dirty, but that's what it was all about. I learned so much about botanical garden maintenance, such as planting, seeding, weeding, pruning, caring for the multiple collections that Fernwood has. I also helped with their plant and record keeping system, specifically their accession tags in the Arboretum. Also had the opportunity to work with their invasive species control protocols out in their tall grass prairie. And the horticulturalist at Fernwood was very adamant. I'll give Connor a little shout out here today. He couldn't be with us, but I'm just so thankful that he was always stressed so much how important it is to properly refer to the many different flora that Fernwood has, in particular identifying them by using a dichotomous key or an app called iNaturalist, which I highly recommend downloading because all you have to do is take a picture of the plant and it can give you suggestions or the proper identification no matter what plant it is, and I know they even do insects as well. Also at Fernwood, I had the opportunity to work at the Visitor Services Center on the weekends, which I absolutely loved because I got the opportunity to meet so many different people, particularly the members at Fernwood and the many visitors and first-timers out to the garden. In particular, this picture is a photo of me with a chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution out of Three Oaks, Michigan, who had one of their chapter meetings out at Fernwood, and I actually received the DAR Good Citizen Award when I was a senior in high school. So I absolutely loved being able to reconnect with them and just share my story, and they got to see where I'm at now, which I just think was such a fulfilling experience. Also, while at the front desk at Fernwood, I got to practice my customer service skills, use of technology, and then ultimately just make so many connections and begin to recognize familiar faces, and also introduce people who had never been to the gardens before to all that Fernwood has to offer. So some commonly asked questions about my internship, major and minor, and future career is, how did I find out about this internship? So I began searching for an environmental studies internship back in the spring of 2023. I sat down and had a meeting with Professor Cobb and knew that I had wanted to conduct an internship, particularly relating to my environmental studies major and concentration, to see if that was something that I was going to be interested in working in the future and just learning more about it. So I grew up attending summer camps at Fernwood, and my Aunt Linda, who's with us today, was an avid volunteer for Fernwood for many years, so she helped introduce me to the gardens, and I thought to check Fernwood's website. And what do you know, they had an internship posting, and I was like, this is my chance. I was so excited. I was like, this is God's plan for me. I loved that. So I immediately applied through their website. I filled out my resume, cover letter, and submitted a short essay, and immediately set up a meeting with Michelle, the Director of Education, to figure out what this internship entailed and how I could best use my interests and knowledge that I've used at St. Mary's College to assist with this nonprofit organization. So when I was granted this position through this internship, I wanted to kind of narrow down about why I specifically chose this internship for you all today. And it was definitely the proximity to my house, only a 25-minute drive, which was very convenient as I wanted to stay closer to home over the summer as a college student. And then I wanted to learn more about Fernwood's function as a nonprofit organization. As you can tell, I got to work with many different people while at Fernwood, and I got to learn so much through all their different directors and programs that they have out there. And I really just wanted to use this as a learning experience and growth for my future career, and then also just exploring and narrowing down my career paths and future interests. And then I was also able to receive college credit towards my environmental studies major and concentration here, 3 credits which count towards one of the advanced classes in my concentration in the environmental studies program here. So I'm really thankful for that opportunity. So at the beginning of my summer, I pretty much wanted to set a list of goals and plans for myself about how I could improve as a student and as an intern, and continue to just really narrow down on, am I choosing the right majors and minors for myself? What master's programs am I interested in the future or future career paths? And ultimately just make valuable connections within my community. Specifically, this relationship of my internship to my environmental studies concentration is, I'll tell you that I have yet to meet someone who is a junior in my grade who also has the same concentration. So it is not a widely chosen one from what I've been told, but I am here to advocate for it today, as I think that it's so interesting to be able to approach an internship like this through a spiritual, ethical, and ultimately, faith-based and looking at environmental issues through that lens. So when I think about a botanical garden, every day when I came to Fernwood, I just really looked at the ethical practices they put into work out into the gardens, along with the purpose of an ethical botanical gardens in general. And ultimately, I just thought this really gave me a beautiful and unique experience as an intern at Fernwood, because I really got to apply everything that I've learned through my environmental studies classes here and my concentration to my work in the field as an intern at Fernwood. So here are some of the learning outcomes of the environmental studies department here at St. Mary's. I actually wrote a 9-page reflection essay off of how these particular learning outcomes connected to my internship over the summer. So for the purpose of this presentation today, I'm not going into detail with them, but I just made sure that my internship connected back to the learning outcomes in the environmental studies department, and how everything that I've learned here on campus truly did apply at my work at Fernwood. So as I mentioned, I did conduct a project and put together a PowerPoint for Fernwood over the summer that I had an opportunity to work on towards the end of my day. And my research question that I studied is, why is Fernwood Botanical Gardens important in Berrien County? And this is something that I brainstormed because while I was working in the gardens, or with the director of marketing, or even having conversations with Carol, the executive director, I wanted to find something that I could really explore all my interests in, and that could truly encompass everything that I was capturing and learning at Fernwood. And I ultimately narrowed that down to Fernwood Botanical Gardens is important in Berrien County because of its plant and wildlife diversity, conservation and education, and community involvement. So first, with the plant and wildlife diversity, plant diversity is currently being lost at a really unprecedented rate, and it's resulting in the loss of many ecosystem services and systems throughout the United States and abroad. And according to the National Institute of Health, about a third of the world's plant species face the threat of extinction, and this can be from many different causes, such as environmental pollution, urbanization, climate change, and so much more. So botanical gardens really play a unique role in promoting plant and wildlife diversity, as they can promote growth, put aside resources to help protect these different plant species and wildlife that inhabit their grounds. And in particular, this is one of my favorite flora out of Fernwood, the black-eyed Susan, or the Latin, the Rudbeckia hirtea. And I loved this flower, and I also got the opportunity to work on updating Fernwood's website with their What's in Bloom section. So if you saw me out at Fernwood with a camera, I was definitely taking photos of the beautiful flowers in bloom. And let me tell you, there are so many during many different times of the summer, even when I was just there, and I want to go back and see the spring and the fall months that I missed and just see what's out there right now. Another one of my favorites was the bee balm cultivars, or the Monarda cultivars. These ones in particular were outside of the Sims Education Center, and I just loved walking past them every day and seeing their beauty. Another one of my favorites was the Michigan lily, or the Lilium michiganese. This was particularly out in the tall grass prairie. It's very unique to the state of Michigan, and it was one of my favorites just of how beautiful it was, and it was really striking, and you wouldn't miss it when you were out at the tall grass prairie, but it also only blooms during a very specific time of the summer, so you gotta catch it at a good time. But I just felt like those 3 examples in particular really highlighted Fernwood's plant diversity. And then Fernwood also has a variety of wildlife out there. In particular, these are just 4 of the many photos that I took of the many different wildlife that inhabit Fernwood. In particular, we have the wild turkeys here at the top, a male and female, the great spangled fritillary butterfly, a green frog, and then an eastern box turtle. Fernwood in particular also is very important for its role in conservation and education, and this is also something that botanical gardens at large are focusing on. Botanical gardens in general are important sites for conservation and education, as they have the resources to be able to promote others about environmental issues and sustainability through their programs and their overall ethical purpose as well. Botanical gardens also play an important role in protecting endangered or threatened species. In particular, I became very familiar this summer with a gray rat snake. As I was about to walk into the Sims Education Center, and this long snake is standing in front of the door, and I'm like, oh, this is a big inconvenience to me, and I was not a snake person, so it kind of startled me. But then the horticulturalist at Fernwood informed me that it is actually now on the threatened list, so I was like, okay, this is great. It needs to be out at Fernwood. I'm glad that it can have a safe space here, but maybe just let me keep my distance just in case. But that just goes to show that many different plants and wildlife at Fernwood have an opportunity to shelter there from any of these environmental pollution, disasters, urbanization, even just land use changes as well. Fernwood also really plays an important role about raising awareness and promoting a response for conservation, particularly through their programs that they offer. In particular, this photo was when a little group from the University of Notre Dame's pre-college program, their marketing class in particular, came out to Fernwood, and they really got to learn about how Fernwood is a place for the community and tourists, and how it's a safe place for you to come visit. And Fernwood also provides many resources through their different volunteer groups about weed management, the care of native landscapes, alternative lawn practices, and they do so through their volunteer groups such as the gardening group or their other programs that they host as well. The Sims Education Center also holds a special place in my heart, as it was very unique as it was opened in October of 2018. It has a flora wing and a fauna wing. The flora wing highlights particularly gardening and horticulture books, and there's also many different meetings and wedding receptions that can take place in that wing. And then also the fauna wing, which has 6 bird viewing station areas. Beautiful birds. I enjoyed feeding the birds every single day, so I became very close with them. And they knew me when they saw me with those food bags. So I love the fauna wing. It also has a selection of children's books for families, and it was really nice for families to just come in and spend some time and really just be educated about the space in general, as there's always a volunteer at the front desk there. The Sims Education Center also has a green roof. For those that are unfamiliar, the green roof is here on the top of the Sims Education Center. It's pretty much vegetation that has a waterproofing system, and it's always installed on a top or slightly sloped roof. Green roofs can also be known as eco roofs, and Fernwood in particular has an extensive green roof. So some facts about Fernwood's extensive green roof: it is 1,300 square feet in total, and it has about 50 different species of pollinator plants, and there are now 4 honeybee hives on the top of the roof. It's not open to the public, but they just actually harvest over 50 pounds of honey from the hives this past summer, which was so cool to see, and I still really want to taste some of that, so maybe I'll get around to that, but I am all for that. But the purpose of a green roof is ultimately to insulate the building, keep it cooler in the summer and warmer in the winter, and then also just provide cleaner air to the surrounding atmosphere, and then also help manage stormwater runoff. Fernwood in particular is very passionate about their community involvement, and I am here today to promote their volunteer program because they are always looking for more volunteers, and I just made such a special connection with working with so many of the volunteers on a one-to-one basis this summer. And this is also the same to say for many botanical gardens. Volunteers really do make up a crucial part of the volunteer and botanical garden community there. Volunteers in particular can develop new skills, get to meet new people, explore their personal interests, and then ultimately just help make very meaningful contributions to the garden and promote the garden's mission in general during their work out there. There are a variety of volunteer opportunities at Fernwood. In particular, I had the opportunity to spend a lot of time with the gardening group, along getting to know the Sims Education Center volunteers and Railway Garden volunteers, but they also have trail maintenance and monitoring and many other volunteer opportunities. And at Fernwood, I had the opportunity to interview many of the volunteers that spend a variety of different times out there and just have different experiences. And I got to interview them towards the end of my summer. And Sue here is a frequent volunteer of the gardening group in Sims Education Center. And one of my favorite quotes from her in her interview is she said, "There's great satisfaction in seeing the gardens weeded." And one of the things I hoped to get from volunteering was an education, and I think I have. Also at the Sims Education Center was Catherine Hudson. She just started volunteering there earlier this year, and her favorite part of volunteering is the people. She loves seeing the different families and children that come tour the Sims Education Center and just really make use of all of its interactive parts, and she can help to promote Fernwood's mission and ultimately as a space of conservation in the community. So just in closing, the connection of my internship to the Environmental Studies Department and my post-college work is I really did use this summer to identify my different strengths and areas of improvement as an intern and as a student, and continuing into my future career, what I want to continue to work on in areas that are room for growth. And then also recognizing what strengths I already do have that'll help me in my future career. I decided that I did want to major in communication studies and environmental studies, just stick with those two. And then I narrowed down my minor to public relations and advertising. My areas of interest working into the future are definitely in sustainability, advertising, environmental studies and science, public relations, and then marketing. For my future career, I definitely am interested in possibly receiving an MBA in marketing or working for an advertising agency. I actually have an interview with an advertising agency this upcoming Friday for a job possibly for next summer, which is very exciting. And then I have an interview next Thursday with the Associate Director of Admissions for the Mendoza College of Business for an MBA in marketing. So it's already in the works. I am excited for that and just continuing to spread awareness about the internship that I had last summer and the incredible experience that I had and valuable friendships. And one of the common questions I get asked is, what was my favorite part about my internship, because I got to do so much? And I ultimately say it was an easy answer: the people. Whether it be the staff, the volunteers, the board of directors, the visitors to the gardens, I'm just so thankful that I had the opportunity to make these valuable connections, because I know that in part those are going to help me into the future. And that's really how I learn. If this is something that I'm interested in, I just talk to others about it, and I get to make such valuable connections and friendships that I truly am going to cherish for a lifetime. Thank you for your time and a question, and I can open the floor to any questions or comments. Maggie?
What was your favorite memory from the whole
My
time?
favorite memory, that's a great question. I would have to say that it was all the time that I spent out in the tall grass prairie pulling the invasive species, because I spent a lot of time out there pulling that purple crown vetch, and you really get to know people when you are out there. Like, what happens in the prairie stays in the prairie. So I would have to say that's definitely one of my favorite memories. I got to know the horticulturalist at Fernwood and some of the other volunteers and interns so well by working out there. Mm-hmm. Isabel?
Do you think you want to work for a marketing agency that's like specifies in environmental, like some type of environmental business or company or something like that?
Mm-hmm. That's definitely something I'm interested in exploring ideas for my senior comprehensive in the communication studies department. I'm really interested in learning more about the effects of greenwashing in advertising. So continuing to really just work in sustainability in my future and advocate for that. I know many companies do ESG reports, environmental sustainability and governance reports. I would love to be able to help with that process and promote it through marketing and really just change the way that environmental issues and the way that businesses recover after environmental disasters through advertising and marketing. Kate?
Do you have any advice for anyone looking to get an internship? Like, is there anything that you wish you knew before you started applying?
Yes. So I was, told to check those search engines like Indeed, LinkedIn, Handshake, all of that through the Career Crossings office, which are so helpful. But all the internships or jobs that I have found have been through connections with people that I know in the community or directly checking nonprofit organizations or companies' websites. So I would highly recommend, making those connections, spending time to research the organization before you apply for an internship, and just not being afraid to to set up that interview process, you know, take that first step. It definitely is worth it, but really just having that personal touch and going a little bit deeper. That's how I found that internship for the advertising agency that I'm interviewing for in my town. I figured that I would go directly to their website and they had a position similar as well. That was the same for Fernwood. So I just definitely recommend going straight to the sources and not being afraid to step out of your comfort zone in that process. Carol?
So Sarah, I don't have a question, but I have to say, gardens are sometimes misunderstood, a little mysterious to people, and I don't know anyone who has articulated the work that gets done at a botanical garden as well as you, and we so valued having you with us this summer.
Thank you so much,
thank you.
Carol.
We're counting on you still being a front person for us. So.
Yes, I know. I would love to come back. I'm really exploring all my options. Carol, is the executive director of Fernwood Botanical Gardens. So if you're ever interested in learning about Fernwood, she is a great resource. She has been there for years, and she just advocates for the purpose of this botanical garden and its beauty every day. So that means so much to me. Thank you so much. If there's no more questions, just thank you again for your time and attention. And if you'd like to contact me via email or again, check out Fernwood's website, give them a follow on Facebook and Instagram if you want to learn more, stay up to date. Who knows, maybe you'll even see me appear on that Instagram and Facebook again. I'll come back and make a surprise visit. But thank you so much again for your time and just have a great night.
There are some light refreshments out in the atriums.